Hammond drawbars. Let's take away some of the mystery. For a start, what are drawbars? All they are is a volume control for lots of different pitches of organ sounds, whether it's an 8-foot one or a little high 4-foot, 2-foot one. You can control the volume, and it's like blending things in. It's like mixing a recipe. And I'm going to show you some of the simple recipes. For a start, let's look at the lower manual. I've been playing these things for about 50 years using drawbars. And in all those 50 years, there are two shapes which I use on the lower manual. Two basic organ shapes, drawbar shapes, which I've used for the past 50 years. And I sometimes alter them a little bit, but basically two shapes for the lower manual. So come over the keys and I'll show you exactly where those shapes are. And my first shape for the lower manual is what I call my triangle. It starts with the A foot, not quite full. 8 foot's on number 6, but then from there on it goes to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way down, and it gives you a nice full sound, but not obtrusive. It doesn't intrude on the upper manual sounds. It's a nice, gentle, sort of diapason sound. It's just a basic organ sound. And then my other setting is like a bow shape. That's if I want to make the left hand stand out. If I'm doing a little bit of work on the left hand that I want people to really hear, that's the shape that I use. I call it the bow shape. Of course, the things aren't set in stone. You can adjust it to your taste. That's nice. So it's almost a bow shape, just bringing out some of the reedy sounds, to make the left hand stand out just that little bit more with the bow shape. There we go. So the two shapes is the triangle, and then pull the middle ones out a little bit more and make the bow. And that's for the lower manual. There's the triangle and there's the bow. Whoops, I nearly forgot. There's one thing that you'd never do on the lower manual, or very, very, very rarely indeed, I don't think I've ever done it, is to use the 16 foot on the lower manual for accompaniment. It's too deep. Listen to it change. 16 foot, those two brown ones at the end, 16 foot and 5 1/3, they sound awful if you use them on accompaniment. Much too deep and horrible. So always start your accompaniment triangle without those two, push them back in again and start with the 8 foot going up to the triangle. Right, let's go on to the top keyboard. With all drawbars you'll notice that there are even numbered drawbars and there are drawbars with funny numbers on, like 5 1/3, 2 2/3. We'll come to those in a moment, but first let's look at the ones with the even numbers. We'll start with the 8 foot. If I play a note of C, that will play the note of C like we want. And these drawbars, the ones with the even numbers, they're called fundamentals, because fundamentally they play the note that you're playing. That's that C there. Let's go to the 16 foot. 16 is playing the same note but an octave lower. 8 foot. And now guess what? The 4 foot is playing a C, but it plays an octave higher. 2 foot is an octave higher till, and 1 foot is right at the top, very high. But it's still playing the note of C, albeit them octaves apart. So you need never be afraid of drawbars, because as long as you use the even numbers, the fundamentals, you will get a nice sweet sound. You can bring the little higher ones in a little bit more. But so long as you keep to the even numbered drawbars, or the little one at the top, you will always get a nice sound. Now let's come to the ones with the odd numbers. Let's take the 5 1/3. For instance, do you remember on the circle of fifths, if we chop 8, we chop 1/3 off the end of 8, we end up with 5 1/3. And 5 1/3 gives you a different note. There's your 8 foot. Now watch what happens when I put the 5 1/3 on, you'll hear it change. They're called harmonics or overtones. There's your original one on 8 foot. Let's chop 1/3 off that, make it 5 1/3, and it gives you a G. Instead of C, it's giving you G. Now if you play the two together, you get Chinese music. So these you use a little bit tastefully, with a little bit of subtlety, shall we say. So we use these to, what are they called? To alter the timbre of the notes. So a good trick with drawbars is to begin to practice to see them alter the tone of the setup. There's your fundamental sounds. Now if I want to start playing a bit more jazzy, a good one is to bring the 5 1/3 in, just to give that sort of throaty sound. It's a bit like a scat singer singing very deep. And it's very nice for slow jazz, like the Whiter Shade of Pale type sound. Listen to it without. Now with the 5 1/3. Now that's one, that's a deep scat sound. And it works very well with the slow Leslie speaker. I've got the Leslie on slow. You know, Lullaby Birdland. Now if you want something a little bit brighter for fast jazz, then the 2 2/3 is the same as half of the 5 1/3, so it gives you a G note, but it does it an octave higher, and it's very good for fast jazz. Let's put in the 1 1/3 and the 1 3/5. That's it. Those two, the black ones. Let's talk English. We're looking at that. I'm looking at the pattern of the note of the drawbars. That's going to give me a bright sound. Have a listen to it change. If I was playing the gospel. This is without. Now with. It's a reedy sort of sound. A good quick change is to push them in and bring the bottom one out, the 5 1/3. So from the high sound, putting the Leslie on fast. So slow Leslie with the 5 1/3. Now let's build it up, bring those out. So we use those like pepper and salt. They are the spices to add to your fundamental sounds. And let's have a look at, we'll have 16 foot and 2 foot. Right, let's set the pedals to 16 foot, a nice deep pedal. And on the upper manual we'll have the 16 foot and a little bit of 2 foot, with possibly a little bit of 4 foot or 8 foot, and a little bit of 8 foot. So it's 16 foot full, 2 foot full out, and a tiny bit of 8 foot just to mellow it down, and that's lovely for this open harmony style look. Little bass. foot out instead. A little bit of 5 1/3, like a horn sound. Not too much, tastefully, had it with a bit of subtlety. There we go. Push the 5 1/3 back in and make it pure again. A little bit more 2 foot. Make it sing. Now a good one is 16 foot and 1 foot. 1 foot out and the C finish. So it's bottom and top. Pull them both out. And it's great for jazz. A quick change is to bring the 5 1/3 in. So there we are, we're looking at shapes and patterns, and we're using these little things like paints and bringing them in and blending the sound using drawbars. Okay, just for fun, let's take us through another couple of shapes, and this time how we can develop in a jazz solo. So what we'll do, we'll start with the 16 foot, 8 foot and 4 foot, virtually the same, almost the same, exactly the same. 16 foot, 8 foot, 4 foot with a nice fast Leslie speaker, that's on fast. Make it sing. And then get the jazz feel. As you begin to swing, what I'm going to do, I'm going to push in the 8 foot and draw out the 5 1/3, look, in one movement. Watch, one goes in and one comes out. And then at the same time we put the Leslie on to slow. So hear it change, it goes from that very pure sound as we mark the melody out. And as we go into a jazz improvisation, push the 8 foot in, 5 1/3 out. Have it change, listen to it change. You get it? Right, bring the 2 foot. Speed the Leslie. 5 1/3 in. Bring the top ones out, the black ones. So let's just do that again very slowly so you can see what's going on. We start with 8 foot, 4 foot and 16 with a fast Leslie. And then as we begin to feel the jazz, twist those two, use 2 fingers to push one in, pull the 5 1/3 out, and at the same time slow the Leslie down. And now as we come to the end, pull the 2 2/3, pull the 2 foot out, put the fast Leslie on, and bring some of those black ones in now, the black drawbars, as we put block chords in. Push the 5 1/3 in. There we go. And that's how you begin to use the drawbars on the fly. Start with the 16, that's it, there we go, you know what we're doing. 16 foot, 8 foot, and just twist those two. Don't be frightened of drawbars, just go for the shapes. If you miss a number, if you don't pull it out enough or you pull it out too far, it's alright, it's not the end of the world. Put them all out, put your foot down. Let me to show you my favourite setting of all time as a basic full organ sound for church organ or theatre organ. This is my personal favourite full organ sound. There we go, 16 foot out full, a little bit of 5 1/3, 8 foot not quite full, a little bit more 4 foot. So it's almost like a little triangle there, like a little line coming out. I'll tell you the numbers in a moment. This is my favourite setting of all time. This is what I use for myself. I said a little bit more. So here's the numbers. This is my sound that I use myself. Is 8 4 5 7 3 6 2 3 5. I'll do it slowly. These are the distances out on the numbers. It's 16 foot on 8, and then it goes down to 4 5 7 3 6 2 3 5. So those little black ones, look, there's just a hint of what they call the reeds there at the top, and that gives you a lovely church organ. And here's a brilliant tip. If you've got a really nice church organ sound, put the fast Leslie on, and that church organ will turn into a good theatre organ. A good church organ will become a good theatre organ. Listen to it change. More reeds. Bring the black ones out. See you again soon.